Hello CardStack community, welcome to another episode of Card Maker, where we use the CardStack framework and build application within the Boxel environment, which is users can use composable software to do all kinds of stuff. I'm again joined by Luke.
Hey Chris, hey everybody.
Luke has been walking us through some build out of some content application. I think we built a CMS in one application, and then we built a data-driven application in the second and third episode, a different type of internal data. It's also kind of more user phrasing where it's more like a Airtable style application. Content and data comes together very nicely in a domain called e-commerce, where you have public facing catalog, and then you also have some data concern about prices and product item. And I guess that's what we're going to work on today.
Yeah, so we've got actually a starting point. Last few episodes, we built stuff from scratch.
Yes.
This time we're going to start from an existing product catalog. So here we have, this card is called our product list. And we can see this is sort of a gift store, gift store, things you might buy for a special someone in your life.
Yeah. Tchotchkes?
Yeah, you could say tchotchkes. I mean, one person's tchotchke is another person's treasured possession, I think.
Or collectibles.
There you go. And so if we look through here, we can click one of these items and we can say, oh, here's a beautiful little wall decor, California beach volleyball sunset. You know how much I love beach volleyball, Chris.
Yeah. Reasonably priced.
Very reasonably priced. And we got this little photo gallery of seeing this little tchotchke in action.
Yeah.
And then there's some item details down here, including when is it going to ship to me, what's the shipping cost, the returns or exchange policy, this kind of thing. So
is this built already?
This is Boxel. We're looking at real Boxel code. I can prove it to you real quick let's flip into code mode here. And I'm looking at this California beach volleyball sunset. Let's look at the card definition behind it. It's called the product card. We can see all the fields here. So there's images, a collection of strings, they're URLs. Seller, the unit price in cents, USD shipping cost in cents, lead time days, delivery window days, is it returnable, it's a Boolean. Details, markdown field, we saw that before in a previous
That's a description,
episode.
right?
Exactly.
Paragraphs.
Yep. Thumbnail URL. This is a computed. That's the one that the image that appears on the homepage and that listing page is set there. And so, and we can kind of see a bunch of the code here, isolated template, a bunch of CSS. So yeah, this is real working code.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to show that, while we did it from scratch, kind of like nothing up the sleeve is from scratch, how you build a card. Most card developers actually come to the ecosystem looking at cards that's already been created. Maybe because there's some nice template that you can extend and start using. And the other way to do it is also there's a standard, right? Like a product, you have an expectation. You want everything in the ecosystem to kind of have those same fields. So the same product can show up in different catalog, get syndicated. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you're deriving from the right thing. And that's why reuse of different kind. And I know you can get into detail of exactly how we use certain concept in TypeScript and stuff like that to get that reuse. But starting with code that already is running within an environment built on a framework is very much, I think, the majority of the use cases.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're just going to see, I don't know, I would guess it's sort of the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of developers in the Boxel environment are going to be working on top of existing code.
Right.
And maybe there's a 20% that'll be, inventing new things.
Exactly.
Cool. So I think for today, our concept here is to make some improvements to this product catalog. And there's three that we talked about right before the show. We talked about adding a filter bar to this product list so you could kind of isolate down the thing that you're looking for more easily.
A very common use case of finding the product you want to buy within an e-commerce site like Amazon or some, premium Shopify store.
Yep, totally. And then we have one product here that has a video, but there's no place for the video in the product on the product detail page.
Right.
So we're going to use a concept called card inheritance to create a subclass of product card and add the video.
Great.
See how that works. And then lastly, social proof is super powerful in e-commerce.
Right.
And so we're going to show how we could add a star ratings kind of widget to our product detail page to show people just how awesome everybody else thinks this product is.
Very cool.
Cool. So should we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump right in.
Okay,
right.
awesome. So let's take a look at what we've got built here already. We've got our product list page here, and it has a collection of products. And so if we click on one of these products, we can see the detail view for that product, which is the isolated view of this product card. We've got a couple of fun features to see the different images in here. We've also got our items detail markdown area down here, as well as a few policies with some kind of fun computed calculations saying if you order today, you get this by January 23rd to 29th. And here we can see this is the seller's name. So each card is connected to a seller, and the seller's identity is
Kind of like a
displayed there.
mini marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like a gift, your gift shop. So the first thing that we'll do, as we just discussed, is to add some filtering capability to this list view. And so we've got this little decorative area in the top with the purple and blue. So my concept is add a little filter input box right in there. Let users type in, and as they type, we'll filter the products that match what they're typing so that they just see those and can easily get to where they're trying to go. So to do that, we'll flip over to code mode and go to the card definition of our product list. And so that's going to show us all of our templates, isolated views, etc. And so here we can see that we've got our product list card. Here we've got our isolated format. And the isolated format has a property for featured product and a property for products for grid. These are the two properties that control what's displayed at the top here using this featured product component, and then what's displayed in this grid down here, looping through each of products for grid and rendering that embedded product component. So what we want to do is first off is add our input field, and that should give us the ability for a user to type in, and then we'll take what they type and we'll apply it to make it filter the contents. So I'm going to change this decorative header to search container, and inside of it I'll put a Boxel input, say that this is type search. I'll give it a class of search input, and I'll give it a placeholder of filter products. To use Boxel input, we'll have to import it. So we'll flip up to the top here, and I'll add import. Boxel input comes from our Boxel UI design library, design system. We'll say card stack / Boxel-UI and components. Chris, have we talked about our Boxel UI design system and what its role in Boxel is?
Yeah, I think, Boxel actually started as a design system. It was the name for the design system where the framework was kind of in support of it. But the more we think about it, the design system is actually kind of the framework, right? If you keep using the design system to give you input boxes, grids, and eventually you can probably get a running application with just those components. So we can punt the I want this to be super customized with CSS, my own template down the line. And if you use your own template, you can actually use different variant design system, more compact, maybe use a grid versus a tile. We are hoping that the Boxel design system is good enough that you can basically build a fully working application that looks like either a SaaS app or consumer-facing app without doing any custom CSS. Now, when you do the custom CSS, because Boxel's design system is completely open source, you could override certain things, add some variables in, but as much as possible, we don't want people to spend a ton of time just making it look nice with really raw HTML defaults, but actually start with something that is a library of things that come together. There's a project called Tailwind, and there's Tailwind UI, and that works really well with a community that kind of speaks that particular language. So we just want to have that type of off-the-shelf capability, even if you completely control your data binding, your filter, all the stuff you're doing here, but then say, well, the way it look and feel, let's get it to work first. So Boxel UI is really helpful to kind of get you to the finish line quicker.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm always everywhere in Boxel, we're always looking for ways to help the developer move more quickly. Boxel UI is definitely a good part of that. So I've got this search container div and my Boxel input. Let's just go ahead and update my style here. So instead of decorative header, I replace that with search container, and I'll give it a little padding all around. This is an example of actually also part of Boxel UI is some standard spacing. So instead of having to think, should this be 10 pixels? Should this be 14 pixels?
Right.
We can just say, you know what? It should be the standard Boxel spacing.
Yeah, something that's been thought through and it should work in most places.
Yeah, and it's the bonus that it's consistent with how other people write cards, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at our product list view. And wow, look at that input field that now we have at the top. Very cool. So I can click into here and I can type to filter something down, but of course it doesn't filter anything down yet because we didn't wire it up to anything. So that's going to be our next step, is to go ahead and add some filtering logic. So the first thing is to tell the template that when there's input on this field, this Boxel input field, I want you to do something. And what I want you to do is to update filter text. So I'm writing this.update filter text. This just means that it's going to run a method with this name. So up here, say this is an action, update filter text, and it's going to be called with an event, an input event in particular. And when it runs, I'll say update a local property named filter text. We'll create that in a minute. To event target. The event target is the input, the HTML element that the event comes from. In this case, it's the input. Value, so that's the value of the field currently. And we can say to lowercase here, so we can make our filter be case insensitive. And then, of course, I said we're going to have to define this local property. So I'm going to say this is filter text, and we'll start it off as this, and we should set the value of this field of our Boxel input to be equal to this.filter text. And lastly, what we need to do is we need to mark this property as being tracked. Now, what is tracked? Tracked is a way to say that, hey, I've got some local state here that when it changes, this component should be re-rendered. Or it should at least be checked to see if it needs to be re-rendered.
Right.
We're going to let Boxel be smart about exactly what parts of the template to re-render. Does it need to be re-rendered? Does anything change? But we're going to give it a hint to say, this is an important field. If this changes, have a look. Now, we haven't had to use this before because we've mostly been using our fields, the cards fields as our data that we're displaying and changing. And those are what we call auto-tracked, right? We don't have to do anything special to get this behavior. But if you have a local property in your component and you want that to participate in this tracking, you just need to add this little decorator to it here. That should be enough to start getting this property updated. And now we need to make the properties that we use to display our product list elements, our products, you take this filter text into consideration. And so the way that we're going to do that is we've got these areas up here, featured products, get products for grid. And we can see that they're currently being based off of this.args.model.products. Well, we would like to have them be based off of filtered products instead. So I'm going to define a new property, filtered products. And to start with, I'm just going to copy and paste and make it just return all the products. And then I'll update these other two properties to use it. So I can now say this.filtered products. And we can see this is taking the first element, right? That's the square bracket 0. So that's the featured product at the top. And this is taking all of the rest of the elements. So it's a slice starting at index 1, which is the second element in the collection. So now that we've got this done, we should be able to go and use our filter text to apply the filter and limit which products are shown. So the first thing we can do is we can say all products are going to be equal to this expression that I just wrote here. And our filter text can be pulled off of this component instance. And then we can say, if I don't have any filter text, or the filter text is blank, then I'd like to just return all products. Otherwise, we're going to filter down all products using JavaScript's filter method. So all products.filter. We get to provide a function that tells it whether or not we should include this element or not. And that's going to be true if the product's title, and we'll call to lowercase on that as well, includes the filter text. If it does, it's included in the filter results, and if it doesn't, then it's excluded. So let's go ahead and let that save, and then we will flip over to our product list view and see. So now we'll go over to our product list page, click into our filtered products input. If I start typing, we can see that it's filtering it down to just the items that contain whiskey. In this case, I can delete. I've got all my W related things. If I type, let's say volleyball, yep, we got right to our volleyball sunset decor. I can even isolate down to my ultimate Frisbee player mug, which says, this mug contains the tears of the people that I beat at ultimate Frisbee.
Nice. It's both mean and kind at the same time.
Exactly.
So what's really interesting is that you started with something where the card was just taking a list, and then you kind of like jam this control in between, and that kind of flow through the filter, and then downstream they don't even know. Like the product group has no idea.
That is one cool part, is I didn't really have to change anything in the template except for adding that input.
Right.
I didn't change anything with the product grid or that hero image at the top. All I did was, as you said, injected a property kind of in between.
Yeah. What's really also interesting about the Boxel product is that even though it has these kind of like more declarative aspects of it, it is JavaScript. So the functions we're using is all very much JavaScript. So you can express it in JavaScript. You can jam that logic into the thing and it will just work. Because the rest of the system is not like, like some no-code system has very specific capability, and if you fall outside, you're kind of lost. Here, the entire system is just JavaScript. So you can insert it and still have all your existing investment without changing work accordingly.
And also, there's a corollary to that, which is about backwards compatibility in Boxel. Because I actually have a friend who recently built a system on top of a no-code, low-code tool. And she said she had to actually redo most of her work because they changed how their system works without a feel for backwards compatibility.
Right.
But with JavaScript, they take backwards compatibility extremely seriously.
Yeah, I think you can still go to some internet archive on some early JavaScript. They will still run.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fact that most of your code, or all of your code really is in JavaScript here is, bodes well for it continuing to run and run and run. Awesome. That's good. Anything else to say about the filter process before we move on to the next item?
No, I think we just added to this template these new features, but it's isolated just to this template. The rest of the system stays the same, but we've improved the user experience in this very localized way. But if you navigate the application, that seems like a big upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So for our next challenge, our colleague Matisse, who's one of the engineers here in the Boxel team, has a hobby, side business, about where he actually carves concrete busts of famous people. Interesting hobby. And he would like to sell those concrete busts in our little gift store here.
Right.
So he gave me all the assets I asked for. I said, well, what's the lead time for shipping? How much is this thing going to cost? Give me some image photos. And he gave me all that, but he also gave me a video. But our product template doesn't really have a place for a video. So at this point, I kind of have two choices. I could change our product definition, right? Product card definition, which is going to change all of the products and make them all have video, which that might be a reasonable option. But the other thing that I could do is I could create a subclass of my product card and give it this special video capability. I could use it for Matisse's product or maybe any other products that have video. But I don't necessarily have to change all the existing cards to that.
Right.
And so we're going to go with the second path there. It's not necessarily that that's the best one. You could make a case for either one, but because we're here to learn stuff and teach you stuff, we're going to go with subclassing our product card to add video support. So to do that, the first thing that we'll do is to go look at our product card definition. And so here's what we have. We've got a bunch of functions at the top, some component definitions, and then if we scroll all the way to the bottom, here's our product image component, the thing that shows the image with the small thumbnails underneath. We've got our product detail component, which renders our markdown and our policies with the lead time and delivery window, free shipping or the cost to ship. And then now we've got our isolated view for this component, for this product card. And then below that, finally, I've got the product definition itself. So here's my field listings, images, seller, unit price, etc. And then I have my isolated view and my embedded view. So what we want to do is to create a subclass of this product card. And we're going to do two things. We'll add a video URL field there. And then we'll make an isolated template for this product card. It's going to be very similar to the isolated template for this one, but it's also going to have support for the video URL. So we have actually support in the Boxel UI for doing inheritance of this style. So I'm going to go ahead and click this inherit button in our product definition. It says, okay, I want to create this in the drafts workspace? That seems great. I'd like to inherit from product. Yes, exactly. And maybe we'll call this a video product, for lack of a better term. And we'll put in a file video product.gts. So I'll go ahead and hit create. And this looks very much like any new card definition that we've created, like we have in the past, except for this part right here. This part right here is the key. It's that video product extends product, and it's automatically added the input for us there. So what this means is that, and we can see this in the schema editor on the right, that our video product card already has all these fields, all the fields that
you start up with the card, you're extending everything that has.
Exactly. And so as we were just saying, we want to add one more field here, and it's going to be a video URL. So go ahead and add that. So we can see now that got added here, video URL. If I go ahead and create a new instance of this card, I can see that in my edit view, I've got this video URL field. And if I flip over to isolated, we can see that it looks a lot like the old video card. My original product card. It doesn't have any place for a video as far as we can tell. And that makes sense because it's inheriting the template from its parent. So that's the next thing that we want to do, is to go ahead and make a new template. And just before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the data for Matisse's product into here so that we can see this looking a little bit more rich. So you'll be patient with me for a second. I'll get that on my clipboard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I've got that on my clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and paste it right into my JSON here. Oops. Go ahead and paste it right into my JSON here, and we should see, yeah, great. So we're seeing this update on the right, and now the details of shipping policies and items, information about this product, all the photos that Matisse provided are all right here. Price is right there. Great price, by the way, for 2 concrete busts.
Oh, absolutely.
There. If you want to be reminded of stoicism as you sit in your office, can't go wrong with this. Cool. So I also want to just point out that I did put in the video URL that we got here as well. Now, so our next project is to try to get that to display here. So we've got our subclass video product. It's got the video URL field. So the next thing we're going to need to do is to define an isolated view. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the isolated view that I have in the product card, and I'm going to make some changes to that. So that, is towards the bottom. It's right here. Just going to start with a copy paste of this. I'll drop it into the file just above our card definition. So now we've defined a local class called isolated, and here I'll just use our little comment code to say static isolated equals isolated, and that should be sufficient, to give me what we need. Now I can see that there's an error, and the error is that tracked is not defined. There's going to be a number of imports that are not defined here, and that's going to be our next step. So go ahead and work through those, and we can just speed me up as we do. Okay, so I've got the imports all done now, and if we go to our product definition, our product instance for this, we can now see that everything seems to still be rendering correctly, which is a good sign. And we can now attempt to pull in our video code here. So we're going to put this just below the price and above the add to cart button is my thought. And so we'll create a video container div. And then we're going to create our video element. And I'm going to grab this from my clipboard. So the video element is going to look like this. Video, by the way, is an HTML element. It's one of the more recent additions to HTML, probably 3 or 4 years at this point, but very useful. And inside of this video element, you provide a source tag, and this lets you define the URL of the video that you want to show. So in this case, our URL is going to be @model.videoURL because we have a video URL field here, and we'll say that the type is MP4. So that should be almost what we need to display it. In order to make sure it just doesn't get out of hand, we'll go ahead and we'll add a video, so a little bit of styling for this video container. I think the key thing is basically just to set a max height of this. There maybe 600 pixels or so. And let's go and take a look and see how we're doing. May need a second to render.
Oh, it popped in.
Yep. Looks like we're loading the video up here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little larger than I intended.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to address that. Let's see if it plays. Oh, look at that.
Very cool.
Marcus Aurelius. Seneca. Right here.
It's either really cool or the ingredients for nightmares.
Yeah, they're a little large and overwhelming our card at the moment. Let me go and see if I can get that fixed up.
And not to say anything, like the fact that the video tag did what YouTube did when there was no such thing as video tag and only Flash. It's pretty. The web platform really has come a long way.
It's true. It's true indeed. So let me add some a little more sophisticated CSS there and see if this gets us a better result. Ah, much more like it.
Right.
Excellent. So we've now got this video product card, but if we go back to inspector here, or sorry, our interact mode here, you notice that it's not shown here. Let me give it a refresh just to make sure that, because we did add it after we rendered. Yeah, so our new product is not on this list. So we definitely want it to be. Now you might wonder, well, it's a different product type, right? We said we created this new video card definition, but we defined these fields as being a collection, links to many of product. So what's really interesting about that, and this is a part of what inheritance is and how it works in object-oriented software development, is that because our video product is a subclass of product, we should be able to use it any place that we can use product. So let's test that theory by going to look at our product list here. We'll go to the end and we'll say add product. And sure enough, we can see that our Marcus and Seneca Premium Concrete Bust is available to us. There's actually a few available from some of my drafts. So I'm going to choose one. And I got the right one because I can see it says video product here. And I will say I'm done editing. And there we have it right here. So now I should be able to immediately start filtering to Seneca. Oops. I spell Seneca correctly. And then I should be able to click here to drill down. We get our video loaded up. We can play that immediately. And if I look at any other card in this list, maybe these cute linen pajamas, everything works fine. There's no video here because this is not a video card. It doesn't have a video. But what's really important here is that we're able to create a subclass with some special behavior, some special templating logic that fits in and works with products everywhere else that they already work in our system. This is a really powerful part of Boxel.
Absolutely. And then if you think about like how e-commerce sites like Amazon grew, is that they kind of had this idea, like they started with books, so that's the only thing they can do, and then they added music. Well, music display is a little bit different, right? There's an album, there's like the link, the track listing, and that's a different type of display. When they got DVD, you got trailers, right? And this was the early days. And now if you fast forward, they have fashion items with sizes and colors. And you can imagine this catalog being very, very different. But in the universe of like making like Shopify store, those are all different products, and they're not really compatible. Amazon has to have a single shopping cart for all those things. So essentially, some sort of inheritance already exists in these big marketplaces. But usually, when you're building small little off-the-shelf thing, you don't really need to worry about it. But the idea of being able to support this type of an inheritance means that if you're building your own store, you get the tools to customize. But if you're making a marketplace from different sellers, you can make your template completely different. So you can click on a product and then it actually doesn't look anything like it. Like the fact that we added one video player didn't change it doesn't mean that you can't make the video the main thing you see.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the software developers in the audience may be familiar with the term polymorphism. And it means that you can treat different objects of different types the same if they share some of the same shape. And in this case, a video product and a product share enough of the same shape that we can treat it the same for the purposes of this list and many other things that products will do in our system. Cool. Well, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about one other improvement we wanted to make to this system, and that was around ratings. Ratings are pretty much a key part of every e-commerce platform.
Ratings, reviews, star ratings.
That's exactly what I mean when I say ratings. Sorry. Yeah, ratings might be like some sort of critics rating or official organization, but I'm thinking of reviews and the basically social proof, right? Yeah. What users say about this product. And so we happen to have a field in our system called rating summary that it would be great to be able to just drop into this template. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. And what we'll do is we'll just for now enhance just this video card that we made with this capability. So flip back to code mode and go to our video product definition. I'm going to add a new field to this card, and we'll say that it's a field called ratings summary, and it's going to be a contains rating summary. And I've got this local in our draft realm, so I just need to import it, and we'll be able to use it. All right, so if that much worked, we should see our rating summary appear here. Yep, there it is. We should now be able to go to our card instance, to our edit view. We should see that we now have a rating summary. And a rating summary consists of an average. So this is like a 0 through 5 rating based on the average of all the reviews we've received. So let's just say that this is going to be a 4.1. And
4.71. Give a little bit more.
All right, let's give him a 4.9.
Okay, great.
And say
there's no inflation here. We just
we'll say how many people have reviewed this. Let's say it's 25,432 people.
Wow, that's a very uniform review. People love it.
People do love it. So if we flip back now to isolated view. Of course, we don't see this because we haven't put this in our template yet. So that's going to be our next step, back to our video product. And if we scroll over to our isolated view, I think this would look pretty nice kind of right next to the name of the seller on the top right side. So here we have the seller container, span class seller. So right after this, what we'll do is we'll take advantage of the fields rendering capabilities to say, you know what, just render me my ratings summary and do it using the Atom format. Do you remember what the Atom format is, Chris?
Something that will fit in a single cell in a spreadsheet. That's just kind of like one line. It's the smallest representation, but it will still render it with meaning, not just like some like copy and paste text.
Yep, exactly. And I thought this would be suitable for us here because we don't have a lot of space up there. Just want to kind of tuck that right in. All right, let's see. Did we do something? I've got a syntax error here. Is this my fault? Let's see. At fields, rating summary, format equals Atom. All right, looks pretty good, and looks like the system is happy with me now. So let's go ahead and see on our video product card. Hey, look at that.
Nice.
So we've got our 5-star rating, and we've got 25,432 reviews showing. So this is the succinct atomic or Atom format like you just talked about.
Yeah.
Tucked in here. And I think this looks really good. You can imagine next step might be we could be able to click on this and go and read those reviews.
Right.
But there is another thing too that's a little funky about this, which is that right now I just added these numbers, 4.9, I think we said, and 25,000 into the card itself as data.
Yeah.
But that's not really how the world works, is it?
Well, if you're making an e-commerce site and you're kind of prompting your own product, you put it whatever review you want.
Right. So if you're making an honest e-commerce site,
Right.
then that data is going to come from your review system.
For sure. It should be an aggregation of actual review that was submitted by users
Yes.
or customers.
Exactly. And so what we can do, we're not going to go through the exercise right now of building that whole review system or anything. But I
Which
just
you
wanted,
can, which will be very similar
and we could do
than
that.
like the guest list stuff.
Yeah,
that
we can
we've
do it on
done
a
in-
future episode,
Yeah.
perhaps. But for now, I just want to show making this field a computed field rather than simple data.
Yeah.
And so to do that, we'll come back to our video product definition here. And where we say contains rating summary, to change this to computed, all we need to do is say comma, and then in our this options object, say compute via, and we'll say, just give it a hint that this is a ratings summary. And we just need to return something, an object that has the same shape as our rating summary,
Yeah.
which we know is average, and then some number, and count, and then some number. And so this is where you would do your logic to talk to your reviews API or query other cards in your system or something like that.
Right.
We'll have just a little placeholder here, which is just do a little math.random. In this case, that instance is being generated by our random numbers here. So I'll simplify this down. So just returning this new instance. And then in the location where we're outputting it, I'll remove, so we're just rendering the atom view of that rating summary. And if we pop back here, we can now see we've got a random, now I'm going to clear out this data, and now our random
Ooh,
stuff is working.
that's pretty brutal. You get a random 1-star rating.
I think that deserves a refresh, Chris. Oh. Oh, I think that this is only going to refresh every time it's indexed.
Oh,
I think that's might be how this logic is working. So if I make a change,
oh, I see a change.
oh yeah, there it goes for some indexing.
That's realistic. Is ranking whether your grammar is good enough?
Apparently, it's generating a lot of these low ratings. Oh, there we go.
Okay, good.
I think I'll
Stop.
leave it right there.
Don't ever edit it again.
Cool. All right. Well, we saw how we can pull in a rating summary field. We demonstrated how that can be computed. In other words, something that can, instead of having that data stored with this card, construct that data or pull it from somewhere else, perhaps through your reviews API. And this, we didn't look at it, but under the hood here, this is using a star rating component. These are just using Unicode characters to output either an empty star or a full star. You could imagine getting more sophisticated.
Yeah, because I want to see that 4.1 have a little tiny bit of the star.
Yep.
And what I think is really cool about this is that you can actually independently improve the rating component, and then all of the cards that use them will just now get this more refined proportional star capability without changing the core logic, which is either random or more realistically a computer that will look at another population of rating and review in a different realm or in the same realm, depends on how you architect it. But the ability for you to iterate different parts of the system independently, yet still having a cohesive experience for user where it looks like a real e-commerce site, but it's actually like decentralized. It's like different parts of it can come from different people controlling different parts. It gets syndicated out through this essentially computed, which is another way of saying Excel formula language.
Yep. Yeah, I think one of the things that we can do too is probably provide through Boxel UI, which we talked about before, we can provide that great star rating component that you talked about.
Yeah.
And then we can, that's something that we can continue to support and improve over time.
Yeah.
Let everybody just drop it in where they need it.
Yes, and we mentioned earlier, Lazai, this is not a great experience because we don't have it in the catalog. The catalog entry itself is a separate thing, right? The ability for you to register that you have a component, you have a field, you have a card, it's actually a different concern. You're using a set of cards to look for that, and once you have the URL, then you can paste it in, and that comes with the import. So there's a whole new kind of like area that we work on using the same primitive that generates this thing, which is instead of a e-commerce catalog of sculptures, it's an e-commerce catalog of software.
Yes.
So the same idea of making a catalog can also be the one where you're like, let me browse for a rating component that looks the way that I want to. You can actually be picking one and then using that in your software and then even paying for it. It's like a stock photo or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a key part of Boxel.
Exactly. Well, I think this is really great. Let's take a look at this in interact mode. This exact data exists in this hierarchy. You can navigate to one that doesn't have a rating, and this is deploy software, right? So even though we make changes, all this software kind of live together next to each other within this uniform environment, and reuse exactly how a sharing is going to be a good part of thinking about how to build a software ecosystem where depends on your skill set and what you're trying to do, you can share different aspects of it. And right now we're inheriting a product, but that could also be how you would syndicate a product. So let's say if a marketplace says, I accept everything that has a product in this particular part of inheritance tree, if you extend this marketplace product, then it shows up on the future Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And then you can make your own store, but yet still have all the information in your own store be syndicatable into that way. And that's the foundation we're talking about.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out that's fun is that we have product list.gts. We made some changes to that to add the filter. Mm-hmm. But we have product.gts. And if you go back and look carefully, we didn't change anything at all in that file.
Yeah.
Which is pretty far out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were able to do what we're looking at on screen right now. And yet we did that completely by subclassing in separate files.
Absolutely.
So pretty powerful stuff.
Cool. So that's e-commerce. I think we think of e-commerce as either a giant website like Amazon that controls everything aspects of it, or little silos that you make your own store with WordPress or WooCommerce or Shopify. This is a little bit of a blend. But we've demonstrated through this particular thing that the part about the content and data can be that. And I think in the next episode, we're going to work on the shopping cart aspect. How do you actually purchase it? If you have different vendors involved in it, how do you get them to work together? Taking really advantage of the fact that a invoice item, a thing you buy, is actually more general than even a product. Could be a service, could be an extended warranty. So we'll work on that next. But I hope this was helpful. Any parting thoughts?
Nope, just going to go hang out with my concrete stoic busts.
Absolutely, surrounding you and then meditate on some dimension of philosophy.
There you go.
And as always, if you're interested in this, like following the progress of Cosmic Framework in the Boxel environment, of which that's review, please subscribe below and click on alert. And then we'll release new episode where we, I think, moving to teach more and more other concept of like what happens if you have this composability of Boxel and cards, and then creating a software ecosystem where any click from here, you can see how the rating is done. So if you're not happy, it's like, how do you come up with this number? You can always go to code mode and view source and see how it's done. But the key here is not about the software. It's not about hiding. It's about sharing. It's about getting people to see that software is just media just get distributed to the internet, and the web is just really good, and bring it together and showing you something that's functional. And until next time, take care.
Ciao.